Hey everybody, it's Bryan again with another tribute to my grandpa. And this week I wanted to share something that I've learned in reading my grandpa's life history or life story. And I think it's fun. You know, he grew up in Fredonia, Arizona, and ran around with a bunch of cowboys and sheep. He did a lot of fun stuff. As a boy, it's just kind of like the era of the 30s, like life, depression. But I don't know that it was always known. It was just boys being boys, slingshots and the whole bit. And I thought it was funny because my grandpa talked about some of the things that he did. And they'd go find creeks and they'd go swimming and all that kind of fun stuff. And they'd shoot birds or slingshots and just a lot of fun things. Well, one of the things that he talked about was that, when they went out swimming with the boys, they swam naked because they didn't want to get all their clothes wet. Well, that reminds me of one of the poems my grandpa recited, and I hope you'll enjoy this poem because I think it's kind of funny, and it is called The Three Bears. My grandpa recites this poem, and I think that there's some joy in this as it really depicts well a little bit of the lifestyle my grandpa had without having power for a long time in his life. He was 14 years old when he finally had electricity in his house, which I think is interesting. But enjoy this poem. It's called The Three Bears. I think you'll love it, and I will see you next week.
This is called The Three Bears by an author unknown. Ma tried to wash her garden slacks but couldn't get them clean, and so she thought she'd soak them in a bucket of benzene. It worked all right. She wrung them out, then wondered what to do with all that bucket load of high explosive residue. She knew it would be dangerous to scatter it around, for Grandpa liked to throw his lighted matches on the ground. Somehow she didn't dare to pour it down the kitchen sink, but what the heck to do with it, poor Ma just couldn't think. Then nature seemed to give a clue as down the garden lot she spied that edifice that graced a solitary spot, our palace of necessity, the family's joy and pride, enshrined in morning glory vines with grated seats inside, just like the cabin Goldilocks found occupied by three, but in this case B-E-A-R was spelled B-A-R-E, a tiny seat for baby's bear, a medium for Ma's, a full-size section sacred to the bear of Grandpapa. Well, Ma was mighty glad to get that worry off her mind, so hefting up the bucket so combustibly inclined, she headed down the garden to that refuge so discreet and dumped that liquid menace safely through the center seat. Next morning old Grandpa awoke and had a hearty meal, then sniffed the air and said, "By gosh, how full of beans I feel. Danged if I ain't as fresh as paint. My joy will be complete with just a quiet session on my usual morning seat, to smoke me pipe and meditate and maybe write a poem, for that's the time when bits of rhyme gets jigging in my dome." He sat down on his special seat, slick shiny by its age, feeling sort of like Walt Whitman, just a silver-whiskered sage. He filled his corn cob to the brim and tamped it snugly down, then chuckled, "Of a perfect day, I reckon this the crown." He lit the weed that soothed his need, it was so soft and sweet. Then he dropped that lighted match down through the center seat. His little grandchild, Rosalie, peered out the kitchen door. "Oh, Ma, come quick, there's something wrong. I heard a dreadful roar. Oh, Ma, I see a sheet of flame that's leaping high and higher. Oh, Mother dear, I greatly fear our comfort cot's caught fire." Poor Ma was thrilled with horror at them words of Rosalie, for she thought of Grandpa's matches and that bucket of benzene. So down the garden, geared in high, she ran with all her power, for regular was Grandpa, and she knew this was his hour. Then graspin', gaspin' Rosalie, they peered into the fire, a roarin', soarin' furnace now, perchance poor Grandpa's pyre. Then as them twain expressed their pain, they heard a hearty cheer. Behold the old rapscallion squatting in the duck pond near, his silver whiskers singed away, a gosh almighty wreck, with half a yard of toilet seat entwined about his neck. Then as he struggled to his feet and started in to wade, he cried, "Hey, folks, Say, did you hear that big blowout I made? And now I best be getting out of this dad-blasted wet. And then I got to figure out just what the heck I ate.